Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Jacob Wile, too.
And welcome to another thrilling installment of Tiki's Universe, the show where we cover a whole myriad of animated programming, including DuckTales, Big Hero 6, Steven Universe. We're eventually going to do a Star vs. Force of Evil catch-up podcast soon. Jacob, a lot of stuff going on Tiki's Universe, but of course, the big main focal point of our flagship animation podcast on the channel is DuckTales.
Woohoo.
Woohoo!
Yep. Has to be done.
So, Jacob, it's been really nice to have DuckTales back, and honestly, I feel like this show is, at this point, it's really like, it's nothing that's like mind-blowingly spectacular. Like, I'm not going to compare to, Gravity Falls season 1, where every episode was just hitting it out of the park. Like, oh my God, this is just like a masterclass in storytelling, a masterclass in art design. But I will say, Jacob, that one of the things that DuckTales is really impressing me on so far is that all the episodes have at least been very good, if not great. And so this is an episode I qualify as a very good episode. I don't think it reaches the heights of some of the other episodes, but I do think it's a nice kind of more slow paced, more low key. It's a little bit like, ironically enough, it's got some high stakes involved with it, even though it's still just like at the end of the day, it's like a golf game, and really it's just the Scrooge rivalry with Glomgold that's the centerpiece. We'll talk about it though. There's a lot of moving parts to this one. My favorite part of the episode is how Huey, Dewey, and Louie each get their own kind of central focus and story arc. But Jacob, before we get ahead of ourselves here, what did you think of the episode?
I didn't think it was bad. Like you said, it's very good. But definitely not hitting their highest points in this series it's hit before, but it's definitely showing that this series can remain a consistent quality. And not dip down in quality as we've seen in other cases.
Dip down. I hope that's not an allegory for how Star vs. Force of Evil season 3 went, because I still haven't had the time to catch up with that.
You'll be surprised for sure.
Okay. So, Jacob, you are looking at my absolute favorite pairing in the episode. I love Huey and Launchpad. I love Launchpad as kind of like the intern sports announcer, whereas Huey is kind of the guy who's taking his job way too seriously.
It's the classic deadpan and straight guy.
I would honestly just take a whole spin-off show, or at least like a web series of these two just doing commentary for different sporting events, like kind of like Beavis and Butthead style.
Huey and Launchpad.
That's what I'm saying.
Just a spin-off with Launchpad.
Well, that's where the Darkwing Duck's going to come into play, probably.
I mean, Launchpad makes a great co. I mean, no matter what he's in, he always makes a good co-pilot. If you get what I'm saying.
So, of course, this episode probably is the biggest focal point yet for Glomgold. And honestly, Jacob, at this point of the series, I'm kind of viewing Glomgold as a frenemy of Scrooge.
It's kind of coming across though. It's like seems like more of a friendly rivalry here more than anything else.
And really, I sense no real animosity between Scrooge and Glomgold. I definitely sense a friendly rivalry between them. I don't know. Like at this point, maybe I'm just being thrown off guard. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like a red hair, like an opposite red herring, if that's the thing. Maybe it's like, oh, hey, Glomgold's not really bad, but he's been the bad guy the whole time. Ooh. I don't know though. I kind of like this direction they're going with him.
The biggest indication of them being more than frenemies was when they were just glaring at each other the entire time in that one episode.
And
then even then they were co-conspiring to take down Mark Beeks too.
Sure.
So even then, who knows? I mean, I think it's more of like a one-sided thing on Glomgold's end.
I could see that. And of course, Jacob, I feel like your pet theory of Glomgold not really being Scottish, but using the whole Scottish thing as like a big push in his company's marketing. I honestly feel like that's all but been confirmed in the canon of the show.
Pretty much. Well, I think even the creators pretty much confirmed it. Like they play him as a fake Scottish.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they basically play him as like the Scottish equivalent to, something like the Crocodile Dundee stereotype of an Australian.
I mean, it's basically like, if they wanted him to be actual Scottish, they're obviously able to get actual Scottish actors. They got an actual Scottish actor for Scrooge.
Get back here, Jessica!
Yep.
You know who should have been Glomgold?
Who?
Frickin' Ewan McGregor.
That'd be great.
Ewan McGregor is Scotland's treasure, Jacob.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. But Scrooge is the way things seem is that Scrooge is like an actual Scotsman, whereas Glomgold appears to be like the Scottish stereotype.
Exactly. So speaking of Scrooge, I definitely enjoyed his stuff this episode. I don't necessarily feel like it was a ton of character development on his part, but at the same time, I feel like it's important for Scrooge to get more integrated. Like he's got stuff to do with all three of the nephews throughout this episode, whereas the nephews all kind of have their different their different story arcs. So I like that. I like how Scrooge is interacting with a lot of different characters. We're seeing, different shades to how he interacts with the nephews. Go ahead.
It's always nice to see him as like a major focus.
Yeah.
Because there's been quite a few episodes where he just basically appears and doesn't do much. It's nice to actually see him partake in some actual events for a change.
Right, and this felt like, in a way, this kind of felt like a lower stakes version of the Mount Everest episode, where it did feel like Scrooge on his A game. It just didn't really feel like, like legend status Scrooge like he did in Mount Everest. You know what I mean? But this episode really isn't like that.
And here's actually trying to win the challenge instead of like the one with the gods.
Right.
It's like he's actually trying to win. It's like, oh no, I lost. I drew again. Whatever will I do?
Whatever will I do? God.
Although speaking of the nephews, it definitely seems like Dewey's getting the most development again.
Yeah, that is something they're pushing. Although I will say that all three of the nephews are very well defined. I said, Huey. We don't really have to talk much more about Huey, but I do like his side thing with Launchpad. I do like how he's still being defined as like the kind of the Leonardo style leader of the group, but still with his own flair and personality.
And with Louis constantly trying to get money from Glomgold.
Louis is just kind of like the schemer of the group. He's almost like the Eddie of the group. Like he's almost like a softer toned version of Eddie.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, I can actually see that. He's like constantly grubbing money from Glomgold for just the smallest things.
Right.
And Glomgold,
which I think is hilarious because it really does show that Scrooge is rubbing off on him.
Money by any technically Scrooge would make the money square, and Louis not really making it square. It's kind of
right.
Basically what Louis doing is basically extortion.
Exactly.
Which I'm sure, considering Glomgold, I don't think Scrooge would particularly mind. Yeah.
Let's see what's Webby got going on in the episode. You're gonna have to refresh my memory on this because I only got to see it once.
Well, she's basically there with them on the ride, and what appears to be like she's there to support Scrooge in the game, and Scrooge and Dewey in their endeavors, basically.
Okay. So Jacob, I think a big question with this episode, because of course you and I are both huge Gravity Falls fans. How does this episode stack up to the Big Henry episode of Gravity Falls?
Oh, I remember Big Henry.
Oh, Big Henry is iconic, man. Big Henry is a legend.
Oh, jeez. Forever in our hearts.
Honestly, I feel like the Gravity Falls one kind of slows down the pace more than this episode does for DuckTales. Both of them are kind of fun character episodes, but at least with this one, there's Like I feel like a lot more of the cast does stuff like has stuff to do. Whereas the mini golf episode in Gravity Falls, it's a really fun episode, and it does contain one of my favorite dark gags in Gravity Falls, which is the Big Henry thing, Jacob. I'm not being facetious here. I love the Big Henry thing, but
like forever, Big Henry, forever in our hearts.
And of course, this episode is proper golf, and the Big Henry episode is mini golf. So that's a distinction.
Yep. Let's just wonder if there's a Northwest Mansion mystery episode.
Well, Jacob, let's save that for speculation.
Oh, you're right. There actually is a mansion.
Yeah.
Holy gaff. I just realized that.
Yeah, hold off on that just a little bit, buddy.
All right. I didn't even realize that.
Right, okay. Right. Jacob, I honestly thought that episode was this week, and so when I saw Glomgold, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. There's a Glomgold episode. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I was happy to watch this episode. It was a fine episode. It's just, Jacob, next week's episode, we have frickin' Duckworth's Ghost. I mean, I can't even bury the lead on that anymore, folks. Like, as a fan, I'm really excited for, we basically spent all of last summer kind of speculating, like, oh, who's Duckworth going to be? Is he going to be this one weird intern guy who's in the job interview with Donald and Roxanne?
Nope. He's like dead.
Do you remember that, Jacob? Seriously?
It was like one of our weird speculation things. Or like he was an old acquaintance or he doesn't work there anymore.
Speaking of which, I'm convinced that Roxanne actually, like, they keep showing her. I'm convinced that it's no accident. This is Disney we're talking about.
I mean, considering they've like shown the preview with like Don Carnage, it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh God, I can't wait to see what the show does with Don Carnage.
I hope they got Jim Cummings to voice him too again.
Oh, he's one of my all-time favorite DuckTales villain. He's a really underrated DuckTales villain.
Wait, wasn't he just in Tailspin? Or was he in DuckTales too?
No, you know what, folks? Maybe correct me in the comments, but I am pretty sure he was at least in an arc of DuckTales.
I mean, I wouldn't remember that.
Yeah, like I said, correct me in the comics. I could just be thinking of a different Jim Cummings voice character who has a similar name, but I distinctly remember a Jim Cummings character named Don Carnage in DuckTales.
I know he's in Tailspin.
Well, Disney, that's one of the fun things about the Disney Afternoon lineup is that they did crossover shows, like with Launchpad Bean and Darkwing.
Well, that is true. And they did get Jim Cummings to do Darkwing Duck in this show too, so
which is amazing, Jacob. I'm still just getting I still can't get over the whole I am the terror that flaps in the night.
I need to get a shorter intro.
Oh God. Okay, so yeah, with this episode, like I said, I feel like this is a really good kind of slowing the wheels down episode from last week, which was this big dump of fan service and a huge superhero origin story and Darkwing Duck. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the pace of this show is served well by having these nice character episodes in between the bigger episodes.
It just seems they finally gotten the airing schedule at least at a consistent pace now.
Yeah, thank God, right?
Yeah, I think the episodes are still airing slightly out of order considering the year code on this one, but at least it seems like it's more consistent with the character arcs.
All right, Jacob, I think the only other thing we really have to talk about with the episode is everyone's favorite ponies, Briar and Bramble.
The Silkies or whatever. What
the hell is up with these two, Jacob?
I mean, they're based on Silkies, which are, as they mentioned, they're actual beings of mythology. But I think they're supposed to be like a weird take on My Little Pony.
Well, yeah, clearly that's the gag, Jacob.
Especially considering they got one of the voice actresses.
Right. I don't know, Jacob. I got to tell you, that to me was probably the one weak point of the episode. Like, not to say it wasn't entertaining. There were some good jokes that were set up with the whole, like, just how tempting they are. Like, oh, come with us. Just all you need to do is just sit on our backs and we'll just make all of your dreams come true and just whisk you away. You know what I mean? Like, they do really go out of their way to sell that type of humor.
It would have been. I honestly think it would have been more interesting if they like turned out to be like horrific monsters or something. Like or like they were manipulating the game or something.
Right.
I mean, then again, that might have made the story a bit too add like another complicated layer to this unnecessary layer to this.
You see, that's my problem with the whole with those characters to begin with, Jacob. Is I almost feel like those characters could have been their own episode, whereas I feel like this episode would have been better served with, maybe 5 more minutes of just pure Scrooge and Glomgold interaction, and just cut the ponies out of the episode entirely. If you want my honest opinion, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Scrooge and Glomgold stuff that we get in the episode is fantastic. I just really want to, it'd just be great to see like a whole episode that's literally just Scrooge and Glomgold playing golf. I don't know. I'm down for simplicity like that. That's why I love Hey Arnold, man. Like, what can I say?
I mean, sometimes a show with complexity still needs some simplicity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, as you pointed out earlier, even Gravity Falls knew when to wind down a bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I can understand where you're coming from on that. I was like, is that they, or at least give it, or at least if you're using the ponies, give them a bit more development than just like My Little Pony knockoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. Like I said, the one thing I really liked about it is kind of the over the top, like how seductive they were played up as. I just feel like it was almost kind of like a wasted gag in a way.
Like you said, they probably could have been their own episode.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jacob, you know what? None of that matters. You know why?
Sorry, can I say what I was going to say? Something real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if they like incorporate sirens, and maybe they incorporate some kind of siren song into this series later. I mean, I think the original show did. So
yeah, we'll see. That's a good theory.
Like, I mean, sirens are classic mythological creatures, so I wouldn't be surprised if they'd turn up here.
Sure.
Sorry, but go ahead with what you were saying. I didn't.
No, it's fine. But Jacob, next week we're getting the McDuck, McMansion, McMystery. And as I already kind of blew the load on, folks, Duckworth's Ghost.
Yes.
Duckworth's Ghost.
Duckworth's Ghost.
I'm Tiny Rick. All right. In all seriousness, though, Jacob, final thoughts on the missing links of Moorshire.
What is the title even supposed to mean anyway?
I'm pretty sure like
what are the missing links?
Well, I'm pretty sure the missing links refer to the special golf courses that the ponies make them play.
And I kind of wish, speaking of which, I kind of wish they would have done more with like the golfers from the past. That would have been pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
Like, like several now that I think about it, there are like quite a few missed opportunities here.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. I do think that this episode, like I said, it's far from a bad episode by any stretch, and I do think.
Oh yeah. No, don't get me wrong. There, I don't think it's a bad episode by any means either.
And I do think character-wise, it's got a lot of strong stuff going for it. I think story-wise is where it really kind of falters, though.
Like I said, they could have been like several. I said if they like played up the mysteries of like it's like okay, mysterious golf course in another dimension. No one questions it.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, Jacob, that's why Mount Everest is my favorite episode so far. And folks, I hate to keep going back to Everest here, but it's true. The brilliant thing about Mount Everest for me is that it took a really cool concept, which was the mountain with the teleportation qualities, and tied it directly into a really pivotal part of Scrooge's character journey. That's the type of writing I want to see on DuckTales.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, and if any future episodes are any indication, it might be on its way.
Again, we'll see.
I mean, the show has the potential to be, like, as you pointed out, if every episode could be like Mount Everest, this series will definitely stand out.
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they and maybe with the second season on its way, they could get more confident in their storytelling and could truly make something really special.
Yeah, I'm definitely crossing my fingers for that, Jacob.
You and me both. Like, look at the difference between Star versus the Forces of Evil seasons. It's like, whoa.
Right.
I mean, so this show can definitely do the same thing. Not
The
necessarily
same
losing.
thing can
Like,
be
I'm
said
not
for
saying it
Steven
should be as dark
Universe,
as
except
Star.
with Steven Universe, it's kind of like season one is and then season two is like okay, season three is like oh my god, season four is like oh my god, yes, and then season five is like wait what am I watching? What? Come on, what are we doing here? I'm sorry, shots fired at Steven Universe. I don't care. I dislike season five. What can I say?
Well, I'm not caught. I haven't watched that show yet, so I can't really say.
No, you're innocent of the fan backlash if you don't like season five, Jacob.
Well, though. All right then.
Okay, so folks, thank you so much for watching this week, and I really appreciate all the viewership these DuckTales videos have been getting. We try and make these videos as comprehensive as we can, and just an engaging discussion all around, as if you're sitting down with your friends to talk about the episode. Because I don't know about you, Jacob, but I don't have any friends who are nerdy enough to get into this show, so it's nice to have you. And I hope that others feel the same way about us, listening in on our conversation. That's what it's all about, right?
Yep.
Okay, and like I said, folks, next week is going to be the big episode that we've all been hyping up, which is the McDuck, McMansion, McMystery, perhaps a Northwest Mansion McNoir type episode.
I don't think it's going to get as dark as that episode. Well, if it does, it'd be quite unexpected.
It's got Duckworth's ghost.
Yes.
You will fear Duckworth's ghost, Jacob.
Probably not as much as the Lumberjack ghost, though.
You will fear Duckworth's ghost!
I fear it. I'm just saying not as much.
All right. Okay, also, folks, special announcement here. There's going to be a little bit of a hiatus between DuckTales ending and then Big Hero 6 starting up in June. So, Jacob, to fill that hiatus, we're finally going to do what we should have done months ago, but it got lost in the shuffle because of my trip to Disney World. We're going to be covering Star vs. Force of Evil Season 3, Part 2.
Yeah, in six episode chunks.
Yeah. So, folks, we basically talked through about half of Star vs. Force of Evil Season 2 and Season 3, as it was airing. And so we don't have time to do individual podcasts for each episode, but what we will do is we're going to do 2 podcasts, each covering 6 episodes apiece, and I will have time codes to each episode so you can skip around in the video description. It's going to get a little weird. It's going to get a little wild. It's going to be a fun time.
Woo!
All right, folks, thanks for watching, and don't forget, woohoo! Duckworth's go!